Good evening, fabulous people. Thought I'd break the silence, come back on the video. It's essentially the 1 year anniversary, in a nutshell, of this incredible Flesh and Blood trading card game brought to you by Legend Story Studios. So tonight I wanted to summarize, recap, touch on some of the more amazing things from the game's side and what's happened there, and also some of the highlights from my own story and journey from the last 12 months or so. I'll start off with my own. The reason that I really wanted to film it today, Sunday the 25th of October, is exactly 1 year ago on Labour weekend, which is a long holiday here in New Zealand, long weekend holiday. Sunday like it is now, 1 year ago, I played in the first calling in the world. The Calling 10k Open Flesh and Blood event. It was a sealed tournament with Welcome to Wraith. We all got 6 boosters. We built a 30 card deck. We all were wondering what the hell we were doing, giving it our best shot. And my goodness, what a day it was. 72 players, so much fun. There were players from overseas, Australia mainly, I think 1 or 2 even from further afield, playing for their part in that 10k top 8. And also some beautiful gold foil full art tunics, which back then people knew looked quite pretty and was, we knew it was a good card. But how good, well, that would take maybe months to find out. So I was up in Auckland anyway. For the last decade I've been doing Learn to Play at the Armageddon Expos, so working with other members of the community, card merchant for the last few years. Before that, Wizards of the Coast, I did Magic the Gathering, and I just spend 3 days at these conventions every year in Auckland on Labour weekend with the team, or the last 5 years running the team, to do demos and teaching new people how to play. So basically, hey, do you like card games? Come sit down. Have you played Magic last year? Have you played Flesh and Blood? For the odd person. But yeah, and just teaching a load of people how to play. And basically, I saw this game was on. I knew the tournament was going to be happening the same time I was up there. And I had maybe built 1 sealed pool and had a few games with the Warrior deck before that in my hometown. And luckily enough, we had the right staff and team of volunteers that I managed to sneak out. Thank you, Mr. Matt Rogers, for letting me make that happen. And yeah, headed down to the tournament, which was actually just down the road at Ellerslie. And yeah, it was just such a cool day. So many old friends from Magic that I saw there, but a whole new host of new players, Yu-Gi-Oh players, Versus system even players. I think a few players that hadn't played any other card games before, just, popping out the woodwork. And the atmosphere though, and the feeling, it was just so fresh, and you felt like a child sort of learning and discovering something, brand new again, which was just so exciting. I also traded a Scabskin Leathers that I opened, which was my first legendary. I'd cracked a few packs by then. I traded it into someone called Sasha Markovic. You may have heard of him. Pretty good player. I think he works at the company now. He gave me a Tectonic Plating, and I finished that weekend. I finished my first constructed deck, which was Bravo. So I got all the Crippling Crushers, Spinal Crushers, my Tectonic Plating, and I was pretty excited. So that was a good day. And to be honest, I opened a pretty good sealed pool. I guess I got a couple of Sink Belows, a Pummel. I learnt the interaction with. I played Bravo that day too, in sealed, and I learnt the interaction of pitching a blue 3-cost, hitting with hammer, and then reacting with a red Pummel, by pitching another 3-cost card. It was really good. It was so much learning, but because of that, I actually got there and managed to scrape in on a top 8 on the first one, and it felt pretty special. I actually got myself one of these, and I think they're worth a little bit of money now. But to be honest, I'm just going to keep it forever. If there's one thing that's sentimental to me in Flesh and Blood, it's this tunic, because I won it at the first calling ever in the world. So lucky me. Thank you, Cam and Riley, for teaching me the game locally a few times, and thanks Mr. Matt Rogers for giving me a few tips that weekend. Definitely paid off. Prior to that, though, prior to the release of Welcome to Wraith in October last year as well, and this first calling, I had found my way. James had mentioned, there was a mailing list and that I should check out this new game. I signed up, in 2018 just to get updates on the game and when it would come out and this sort of thing. Of course, I was interested. I was a Magic player, and it being a local New Zealand game that was going to be coming out, I was like keen to see what it was. But that Christmas in 2018, so nearly 2 years ago, before there was any Flesh and Blood being paid, etc., I got a little letter in the post, a Christmas letter, and little personal message, which was really, really nice. And yeah, as KP says in his latest article on Channel Fireball, very, very good company, LSS, and a lot of personal touch and so on, which I think goes a long way in this day and age, to see that sort of effort and personability and so on. But aside from the message written to me in here, there was also a printed thing, which I'm sure is in other people's cards or letters that they may have got. Have a fabulous Christmas. And I wanted to read this to you specifically because, this was sent out 2 years ago, and when I read it, I got a bit excited. Like, I felt what they were saying. And now, a year in, I hope watching this and hearing this, you can go, wow, they knew what they were up to, right? So this is what it says, printed. You've passed the first test, aspiring TCG champion. Well, I'm yet to be that, but hey. Your commitment, high IQ, and bravery to sign up to random mailing lists has earned you our respect and an iron rot equipment that breaks on first use. That was a little thing in the card. That's the first, but that's not so well. But here you go. Let's see if this resonates with you now that you know what we're dealing with. 2019, the TCG industry will change forever. 20 years dreaming, 6 years planning, 4 years testing, 2 years drawing. One new classic trading card game. We're so ready. Are you? And I was. And I am so, so glad, maybe that I got this, but along with everything else. I'm a hype beast. I got belief. New Zealand company, get behind it. The game, looked great from day one. And sadly, some other people weren't ready, but I think they'll be coming on board if they haven't by now. It's crazy. So played that first calling, got myself a gold tunic, which I'm going to keep forever. Super lucky, but from there on, it was just all on. I finished my Bravo deck. I started playing in the armories that happened. I soon thought I want to build another deck, so I got a Dorinthia deck together. Love playing Dorinthia, by the way. And then basically February, so 4 months later, there was a second calling on already in Auckland, Little New Zealand. Same deal, $10,000 open entry, except this time it was classic constructed. So I took my warrior deck and played pretty similar to, again, Matt Rogers giving me a hand there, so thank you, sir, appreciate that. But yeah, we went in to that event. There was 100 people this time. Again, travelers. There was even a couple of guys from Malaysia at this one. A good lot from Australia. It was super exciting, and couldn't quite convert at that time. I was on a 5-2 record at the end of Swiss, 5 wins, 2 losses. Lost to a real devastating ninja control type deck that I believe was similar to Sasha's, who ended up winning the whole event. So that was a bit of a blindsider. And I also lost to Luke Fletcher, who was just a better warrior player than me at the time. Don't know how we stack up now, but he's probably still better than me. So, and that was my first feature match as well. So, and I lost. So, Good times. Thank you, Luke. But yeah, 5-2. There was a whole load of us who didn't make the top eight, and I think two or three that did on that record. So it was whatever, but still a good run. And of course, kept my hunger going, carrying on, playing some more. And then Arcane Rising came out in March, and that was, really was highly anticipated. 4 new heroes suddenly. Our world just doubled. It was crazy, and I jumped straight on the Ranger wagon. I thought this class looked super cool. Felt a little bit like a mix between Warrior and Bravo to me at the time. I don't know how accurate that is. I think it's probably a bit more ninja-y and just its own deck as well. But super fun. I played it quite a bit, but obviously just on release, this thing called COVID happened, and yeah, I mean, we all know that that's still going on, and I'm so sorry to those who are still, more impacted than we are here in New Zealand. But it was a real concern. I mean, obviously the world, and there was bigger issues, right? But first world problems as well. I was like, man, this Flesh and Blood game's so awesome. I played a couple of big events, and I got all my cards together, and now there's this bloody thing, and what's going to happen? But luckily by then the community was so strong, the online presence of everybody, chat groups, posts, like it really just carried through. And luckily, again, thanks to KP Michael over in Aussie, using some existing technology through Steam, Tabletop Simulator, build a mod to be able to play Flesh and Blood on our computers online whilst there was a pandemic, and it was really good. Matt Rogers at Card Merchant, Logan, who was running Metrics Daily, rest in peace Metrics Daily, got together. I lent a hand here and there with Adept events as well, and ran like online league. Well, they ran most of the online leagues. We ran a couple of the bigger events, winner boxes, all the stuff while lockdown was on. And on reflection, I feel like it actually might have made the community stronger, perhaps, and more close. And having to show resilience and the game to prove itself, that's something that's that important for people to hold on to at such an early stage, I think was a huge testament to the game. And despite all of the stuff kicking off around the world, the game, Arcane Rising, I think sold out now over the last 6 months or whatever it's been, and people were hungry for it still overseas, ordering packs, opening packs at home, learning the new cards and decks, playing with their mates and online, like I say. And the game's just growing through a 1-year-old game is growing through a pandemic, and that's incredible. And Nationals in New Zealand was put off because of it, and again, it was like a bit of a shame, but we got there in the end. And a couple months back at the end of August, we had New Zealand Nats, and it was phenomenal. It was like the best card tournament weekend I've ever had, even though I lost quite a lot. But day one, I was 1 win short of getting through to day two. There was a couple of unfortunate matchups. I played Nick Anderson's super aggressive ninja deck, and I just had no idea about it, and he just destroyed me. He had no defense reactions. I was playing Warrior, and he got to go first, and he just cut me real deep, real quick. And the key there was also actually a turn where he played Chains of Eminence, naming Warrior's Valor, and I had 2 red Warrior's Valor in my hand. So I basically had a 2-card hand for his attack and for my turn. And yeah, convincingly lost. There were a couple of times in that day one of Nationals, and also Blitz and stuff that I played, where I was partially to blame, but also both players, my opponent, slow play kind of came into the folds and ended up in a draw. And yeah, that's something I might talk about in a different video, but it's important to keep in mind and yet touch on later. But it was just such a good weekend, though. Everyone was, there, so keen, hanging out, playing all these different events, winning, huge prizes here and there, catch-ups in the evenings. We came up from Nelson, so we had a house with a whole group of players, and it felt like what it should be all about, meeting new people, catching up with old people, going away on a road trip type scenario, just playing a load of cards, like 20, 30 hours plus over 3 days. And it was just so good. And, Crucible's come out. Crucible just, again, instead of doubling the heroes and stuff, it's now just sort of feels like it's doubled or tripled the amounts of deck styles and angles you can take with each hero. And of course, given us just some cool new cards as well. And yeah, so 1 year in, what can I say? I'm just so excited to see where things go. The likes of Channel Fireball coming on board in the last 2 week or two is just insane for the game, I think. And Rudy's been doing videos, so we've got this whole investment investor side looking into it, which some people are skeptical of, but in early stages it's not a bad thing, right? Like, it gives more exposure, it makes more people look at the game, and the game will just become big and more regular for people and grow the community as a whole much faster the more eyes we can get on it. And yeah, everyone who plays the game seems to love it, and just I can't take my hat off enough to Legend Story Studios, James White, Chris Gearing, Jason Chung, Alan Hale, Robbie, the artists, everyone involved. It's incredible. It's an incredible thing that you've done, and I'm very grateful. And I would strongly suggest, if you're just touching on it and managed to watch this video, found this video, keep going, because I've played Magic particularly for over 15 years, and I sold out of my collection last October after playing this for about a month, and I have not regretted that for 1 second. Another thing would be just get your cards together, get a legendary, build up a few decks, have options, keep it fresh, and yeah, get in as many games as you can. And the other thing I wanted to share with you was on the 1 year, I guess, just this weekend, 2 nights ago on Friday, I went to my local armory event. We always play on Fridays, and we just played 3 rounds for a few booster pack prizes. Classic constructed. I played Wizard, and I got 2 packs, which was the same. I went 2-1, with Wizard. I managed to beat what did I beat? A Warrior deck and a Ranger deck, and I just lost to Runeblade, which I feel is quite a hard matchup. And yeah, I got 2 packs for my troubles, and my first pack was awful, and then I opened my second pack, and I've kept it here, obviously not with the wrapper on, but I got this, rare. What? Crucible of War tunic? And I was like, that's mean. What? Extended R20. So yeah, I don't know how other games are going, but playing on a Friday night, open a couple packs. What's that? $400 in a booster? What's going on? Surely that's worth anyone's time, whether you super love the game or you're a spike beast who wants to get investing. But yeah, either way, you can't lose playing Flesh and Blood, really, is what I'd say. And yeah, such a good time. I hope that everyone, gets on board, plays hard, and just enjoys it as much as I have. I don't know how it could be any better, really. So yeah, end rant. Quite a long video. I didn't really separate my story versus the company, but I guess from everything I said, you kind of figured what the game's done. And there's a lot of content and video and stuff out there, and if you've been playing, that's probably why you'll be watching this, and then you probably know what the game's doing anyway. But yeah, all the right things are happening. We got a new set new print runs coming out in a few weeks, so people can get all the cards more easily. And then we've got a new set in March, and trust me, I think the spacing of the set releases here are really good. Having like 3 or 4 months is, I was saying to someone's almost not enough time still to really delve deep enough with characters or heroes and deck ideas. But maybe some of you have more time than me. I'm not sure. But yeah, what a year it's been. An absolute cracker. And thank you again to all the players. Thank you to you. Thank you to LSS. Thank you, James. Thank you, Flesh and Blood. I just can't, I can't express that enough. Really, really, really amazing, and made my life much more enriched. So I'm excited to keep playing cards for the next 5, 10, 15 years again. And I think the rest of the world is going to feel the same as we go. So there we go, 1 year in. Good times. Hope you're all well and feeling happy, and life is going all right within Fab and outside of Fab. Gonna jump off and hopefully get a video up again soon, because been a bit slack and I do have a lot going on that I want to share. I just maybe need to do it more succinctly and also figure out some video editing, but I'm not going to make any promises on that because tech ain't my thing. I much more prefer to sling cardboard. Anyhow, much love, fabulous people. You have a great night. Ciao.